about polished boots. He wants to give a presence that he's very confident, he knows his job, or she, and that needs to be communicated. And it has been found, people that have studied this have found that most incidents involving law enforcement interactions with potential suspects are dealt with at the bottom rung of the ladder. As soon as that individual person knows what they're doing and they're very confident, very often that's the end of it, and the situation is de-escalated. However, there are a few elements where that doesn't happen, and then the ranger needs to be taught how to escalate to the next level, which we call here verbal judo. It's a copywritten name, but it's essentially how to communicate with someone in a way where the ranger controls the interaction and not be put by the individual. Also very important, and what I will say is that I've color-coded these, so the two at the bottom, presence and verbal judo, are very much also integrated with that point that I mentioned about the ranger being the face of the institution. So it's very important, these two bottom rungs of the ladder done well, because not only are they going to solve most of the issues that they have, they're also going to improve their representation of the institution. And I understand, having lived in Tanzania a while, the Honourable President has made a lot of effort through the Royal Tour in terms of bringing 5 million visitors to Tanzania by 2025. And with that, I think, comes a degree of responsibility where the front-facing people, tourists need to feel comfortable and in front of these front-facing people. I go back to the ladder here, verbal judo, if that fails, and very often at this point it's someone who has time or is maybe inebriated or something else, and they therefore are not acting reasonably. You then teach the ranger how to control the assailant physically. And this is through a number of holds and pressure points that are as part of the training package. And this is essentially now, we've gone away from non-contact to the lowest round of contact, where we're now starting to put hands on the assailant. And it needs to be commensurate of what that assailant's doing. So essentially he's starting to get aggressive, he's showing zero ability to de-escalate, and therefore the ranger needs to escalate his response or her response. The next one up is pepper spray, and pepper spray is widely regarded as something that is not lethal at all. So there are no known deaths that have been recorded from the use of pepper spray, but 90% of the time it incapacitates somebody who has been aggressive. And in the tree that we find ourselves in, the added benefit is that it also works on wild animals. You've heard that elephants don't like chili fences. Well, pepper spray is essentially chili. So you spray that into most wild animals, and they escalate quickly and run away. And I think one of our biggest challenges in conservation is not so much dealing with poachers. At this level, it's more wild animals that could attack. So pepper spray is a very good tool for that. The next one up the ladder is a sort of baton. Sometimes we have these collapsible batons which are very compact and can be deployed very quickly. And again, with the baton, the training is not to hit hard parts of the body, the head or the bones. We want to go for muscles. So the upper leg between the femur and the upper arm, these are areas which, if struck properly, can actually incapacitate or stop an attack from happening. And of course, the last rung on that ladder is if the ranger understands that they are going to be seriously injured or killed, then they are then entitled to use their weapon, their firearm, which could result in deadly force. And so what I'm trying to demonstrate here is that we want to give these a range of tools to be able to deal with a range of routes from the public. And very often, the only thing we do is we give a firearm, but nothing else, and we don't teach the ranger at what point they're to use that firearm, and that's why we sometimes in conservation and enforcement agencies, maybe a bit of excessive force was used in terms of circumstances of the incident. Fitness is another key element, and at Prometi, the place that I worked before I joined the CAWM, fitness was a very key element. And what it does is make the scouts, the rangers, much better prepared, but it also builds esprit de corps. So it also builds this team of people, that get behind a common purpose. Fitness is a very good way of building that esprit de corps. I like to talk about the manoeuvrist approach. And so very often where you build against our camps, fixed within a protected area, and the poacher understands that the game scouts have a limited range of operation from a fixed location. So they will know exactly where the scouts are based, and also the limit of the area that can be patrolled. And so what we like to look at is this manoeuvrist approach where we could stay anywhere on a protected area and therefore keep the poacher on the back foot. In other words, be unpredictable or less predictable. And this is what we refer to as the manoeuvrist approach. And some of that training needs to be things like living in the field, because it can be very difficult and demoralizing living out of a tent extended periods of time. So it's about training the ranger on how to do that in a comfortable way, and also to keep themselves healthy. So this is the summary of vocational training that I've just spoken of. And I just put there in red ink at the bottom, refresher training is key. So very often, many places I've been to, you go through a school and you learn to become a policeman or a ranger or whatever, and then you leave, and none of that training is ever kept up. And when an incident happens, you've essentially lost that skill. It's known as skill play. So vocational training, fresher training on a regular basis is very, very important. Okay, I want to bring on to the academic side here. The academic training, and I know Mweka are one of the centers of excellence at this, so I might be preaching to the converted, but mental preparation and mindset for the work that these rangers are going into, it's very important that this is covered at an academic level, so that they understand fully the type of work that they're going into. We also want to really prepare and shape the leaders of the future. And this is, I think, best done in an academic setting. And the last point on academic I just wanted to bring up here is technology adoption. So my colleague Bruce has just spoken to you about Earth Ranger, and a good example is, in 2016 I was involved in Earth Ranger site, which was one of only 3 in the world. It was Akagera, and one in Lewa in Kenya, and then we adopted it at Prometi. That was 2016. It's now 2023, and there are about 460 Earth Ranger sites globally. So what I want to highlight there is that technology is coming. All right, it's already here, but it's expanding rapidly, and we need to be able to adopt this technology fully, because it can add such a benefit to our operations. So technology adoption is something that should really be trained into our rangers right academic level, right from the word go. I hope that I haven't gone over time there, but I'll take any questions. I know it might be difficult because I'm online. I just want to thank the College of African Wildlife Mweka for their patience and tolerating me being able to present from far away. I really appreciate it, and please feel free to ask any questions. Thank you.
Thank you, Wilson, for a very nice presentation. Good afternoon, everybody. I hope we still have some bit of energy available to be able at least to propose one or two questions to Wilson for this presentation. Never give a reaction.
It's very unclear at the moment.
Yeah, can you get closer now?
Hi. Yes. Of course, it's very important, but I think that's something that is being done very well at the moment. You know, but I absolutely agree that conservation is training in certain conservation topics is very, very important. It's just that I'm speaking from a field of anti-poaching, which is my sort of strong area. So that's why I focused on that, but it is very important. Well, I can't speak to any specific incident because I'm not aware of any specific incident, but I'm talking sort of in generalization about human rights violation. But what I can say is that very often the rangers are not equipped with the necessary tools that they need in order to deal with a range of issues. So very often the only thing they've been given is a firearm, and that's only really the thing they've been trained to use properly. And so if that's the case, then it's pretty certain that human rights violations will take place. So what we've got to do is train these rangers to deal, Mr. Mande in his presentation spoke about the 5 levels of poaching and the 3 levels of anti-poaching. What this is essentially the levels of violence towards a ranger and the levels of response to that violence from the ranger. And, if somebody is, I don't know, trespassing on a game reserve, for example, you really shouldn't be, doing any force or physical force from an individual. You should be, at the talking level, and perhaps if you're arresting them, to put handcuffs on. But very often what you might find, and again I have no examples of this, but what you might find is that they're trespassing, and the ranger will go there and start beating them or being physical with them. And so the crime committed versus the reaction to that crime is very different. And that's where I think we can start talking about human rights violations. So as long as the ranger's actions are commensurate with with the assailant's actions, then it can't be a human rights violation. So it's very important to equip these rangers with that knowledge, but also the equipment and the understanding, so that they can deal with the range of violent reactions.
Thank you for very good response, and I think that will mark the end of your question. Yes. So please. Thank you very much for your wonderful presentation, Charles from Uganda, and I work with the Backrangers and Widows Orphans Project, which helps those families who have been affected, especially in the eastern part of Congo and Uganda at the same time. Now, my comment was based literally on the trauma aspect. You have followed the ladder system which you use for training. I just wanted to check with you whether the rangers you have actually trained have actually come back and reported, after getting such instances that they actually feel probably better, especially after getting probably some issues. Or when you send them to the field, is that there's practice to show that there is success in terms of improving their welfare? Thank you. Do you hear that one?
I didn't hear that. Perhaps you could repeat the question closer to me.
I would probably be brief and say, is there a success story of
when you say increase, you're talking about pay?
Yes. No, it's not pay. I'm talking about like how do they feel when, for example, if they experience a problem in the field, like shooting someone, maybe a colleague is killed. How do you go about that?
Well, I think that's a very, very good question that you brought up there. I think not a lot of attention is paid to ranger welfare, especially in terms of that type of incident happening when a colleague is killed. The level of trauma that goes through the rest of the team is immense, and that is something that really does need to be addressed on a large scale. And I was recently at a conference in Cape Town where this was the topic. Not only that, but sometimes you start to see rangers resorting to alcoholism. So they start to abuse alcohol as a way of coping with trauma that they've come across. So that then, ultimately can end with the ranger losing their job because they're no longer working efficiently. So you're absolutely right, and it's a fantastic question that we do need to focus on ranger welfare in terms of helping them to recover or get over incidents of that nature. But I think we're way off that at the moment, to be honest with you.
Thank you very much. Thank you so much, Leslie, and all those who contributed to this. The presentation is now very well in general with what we had in the morning and we had some sessions. And this is nice. So, we had two parallel programs, one was financing, the other was preparedness.
Okay, thank you so much.
Close at 16:30 and we have to leave.
Yes,
Okay.
I know that.
That's 20 minutes.
Yes. Please. We are very fast. You're not going to get a lot of time. Yes, but very brief. Because the chief guest is already here. There was no point financing. If you had any quick reaction to that, I'm going to give only 5 minutes. Only 5 minutes. Presentation on seizing of funding options, support by conservation that was presented by Lauren Eason. We had a promoting partnership with conservation that was presented by Fadil Milima. Abundance, chicks mortality and potential threats of secondary bed in Israel National Park by Dr. Federico and Police. Funding of research and training in Africa by President Roxcraft. Adopting coping mechanisms for tourism related risks by Mr. and facing for conservation, psychological and practical investments the current day. Please, everybody with their reaction to these topics. Yes. Just straight.
Thank you. Normally, when habits take long, we have a culture. Now, Serengeti has been questing, watching, especially sharing for so many years, even when we were here many years ago. What is the problem? Is it cultural? Is it historical? Is it poor law enforcement? Is it poor community benefits? What is the problem? Because we know in our cases in Uganda, we have areas which were infested by poachers, and those big poachers have been reformed over time. What is the problem with Serengeti snaring? Thank you.
Asante sana. Any other? Who are there will respond to them? Sane. Who's responding to this?
I don't know about this problem because we are in Tanzania, so we must speak only about what we saw about our target species. So I'm sure I'm not the right person to answer this. So I think probably better Professor Moshi.
I think I will give the microphone to my student, former student, Professor Nyambo. That is your last answer.
If I got you right, the question was why snaring is still a big problem ever since from Serengeti. Yeah, because it is very easy to set, it is very easy to get these snare wires. We're just collecting these snare wires from the mining industries. They normally burn the tires and they can collect a lot of wire snares. But if you were in my presentation this morning, snare wires now replaced by motorbikes. So the next coming problem will be. But the other thing, I'm very sorry, but I need to put it, you know, Uganda is very small compared to Tanzania. And the national parks and the game reserves, protected areas that we have in this country is quite big. And you know our population are similar, we are all poor. So people in Tanzania everyone who is very close to protected areas, if you go calculate the density of people close to protected areas, you find out that the density is decreasing along the gradient away from the protected areas. So you can see many people, many local people want to get access to one bushmeat, call it. So the most important, the cheap way to get bushmeat is using snail wires and the pitfall trap. Did I answer yes?
Yes.
Thank you so much, and I think we conclude this session because we still have the other two. Quickly we'll take over from there. The group that was dealing with the risk preparedness custodians, Professor Nyamongo, Mayor taking of the chair, Dr. Mathematics, Professor Justin Rubre, Bruce Jones, Robert Fernandez, Wilson. Please. Anybody with reaction to this? Remember the talks. The talks were first recorded from the organization. Generally, environmental scholar and teacher, and of course, once again, Mweka, seizing technology to enhance the work of rangers, transformation of policing, and watching fostering sustainable conservation, building infrastructure capacities for rangers, and discussing that. But addressing how the motorcycle movement patterns during the delivery and the extension again. Anybody with a good reaction to this? One there. And please.
Yeah, thank you. I just have a quick question to my friend Masgeri. He gave us a very good presentation on the FZS vision and objectives for conservation in this country. But then, because of doing that, he touched a little bit on the challenges that FZS sees as affecting their conservation initiatives in Tanzania. And one of them was talk about something like activism, and specifically talk about forest conservation. That forest conservation is criticized a lot. So we see this as a threat to conservation. And that's now more particulars are more like paper parts. So my issue was like, why do you think this is the case? Why do you think forest conservation is criticized? And why you think this criticism is a threat to FSA's vision for conservation? But just to check on that, I think a good practice would be to embrace discussions, because this is a contradiction to what you just said on the fact that many parks, which of course follow the forest conservation model, are paper parks. Are paper parks because the premise on that is straight. And people are criticizing this because it is not working and many of the protected areas are turning paper parks. So I don't know why to me, the rest was okay, but to me this I think is something maybe you need to tell us more about why you think this is a threat to conservation and why you think it's called activism.
Asante sana, will help. Any other reaction to this group of presentations? Forest conservation.
Yeah, thank you for the question. Well, we were discussing about the threats to conservation and the ability. And one of the issues see is about the criticism on the model of conservation that is done. That rangers who have enforced the laws, who have patrolled the parks. There are people out there who think that conservation should not be done that way. They see it as a colonial way of doing conservation. So they are counteracting this effort for protecting these biodiversity, these resources. So in a way, it is actually jeopardizing the effort done by our conservation agencies, our conservation rangers, that in fact we see we are losing a lot of rangers because of confrontation with people. It's all because of this activism that people are misleading communities, that these rangers are not good people, that conservation should not be of restriction. Because if no restriction, that's not conservation. We know, yes, conservation for development, that some utilization, economic utilization. But if you make it free access, then it's no longer conservation. So I mentioned particularly that the activism, the human rights issues are becoming more and more threats to conservation. Because now people are pushing to say, no, allow people to access resources. Some people already, like for example, want to access grazing in the national parks. Is that the direction we want to go? I don't think so. So I think it's important to be aware of these threats which are emerging and be able really to get prepared to face it. So that's why I mentioned it as threats. And because they don't like it, they put it in a negative way that conservation was brought by colonialists. So they say it is a colonial way of conservation. That's why they try to make these arguments. Thank you.
Asante sana, again for that. If we have any other very burning contribution to this. Thank you. In Uganda, we have protected areas that are internal, but there are those which are part of bigger ecosystems, transfrontier nature. Now, the nature of the challenge is not exactly the same. Whereas Uganda Authority allows for collection of dead wood at a quiet time. That maybe on a Saturday, communities go in and pick dead wood, they pick it. But our friends who are from the neighboring country come heavily armed. Their target is not wood, their target is the big game. I want to see you fast. You are gone. The ranger goes. Now that's a different challenge. If you're going to emphasize community conservation, it will not work in that circumstance. Because they look at you 1,000 meters away and get you. What do you do in that situation? Somebody talked about rangers being killed in the front line, at the field, the line of duty. How are you going to talk to such a person who is not your immediate neighbor, who does not even share your country, but has come in everything? Anyway, at whatever. This is where the challenge is. To what extent does the community conservation work? Where does it apply? Where it doesn't apply? Which level of mechanism you employ for frontier boundaries that are the same ecosystem where wildlife moves forth and back? So this is the challenge. Thank you. Thank you, Professor Theo, for that very contribution. So, these people have done justice to this session. Allow me to really thank all groups, financing and preparedness for the good job that they have done to appeal our office for that. Okay, this one brings us close where we are heading. A lot of things are still there, but I have to keep on with the timing. So, allow me to welcome College Director and the representative from the Director of Wildlife, then Director and Police, and the Finance staff. We are now moving to the closing sessions, and later some other discussion which we will do after this, but at least we have done the formal closing of this event. There will be a lot of good talks that we had. The organizing committee will still come back to presenters to get some brief of what they presented, so that this might help us when we are preparing some policy documents out of this meeting. So without taking much time, allow me to welcome the college director to please speak something before we welcome the director of wildlife for official closing.
This is some of the sessions. This is extremely easy. Just a lot of calls from different people. So, you allow me to just say some few words. Mr. Fidel Castro Mario, representative of the Director of Wildlife, Professor Inostafi, Professor Ukwe, colleagues from Uganda, Mr. Joseph Serugo, who led this 24 years ago in life, colleagues from UK, Professor Tony from WCS, and colleagues from WCS, colleagues from Zambia, Madam Zambia, was here, and Susie, Yamudele, Professor Sogoma is here around. Thank you very much. My predecessor and my mentor, coming along with Professor Sogora, and Mr. Mande, I missed you for some months, but the jobs are there. Dr. Ikan, Dr. Dudadue, Professor Arukwe, colleagues from Europe, Dr. Kwakwe, Dr. Suba, another father, the other one. And all of you, I did intimate information your names to bear with me. If you acknowledge, accept the reason. Yes. Thank you very much. Good afternoon. Again, it gives me a great pleasure to stand here again as we conclude this symposium, which has lasted for 2 days, which has been very productive. Let me extend my thanks to all of you again for making this event possible. Definitely, without you, nothing could be materialized. So thank you very much. This was one of the unique and rarest and exact moments to meet all the friends, but also to assess the succession of changes
which some of us have known since we parted. Those who were here in 90s, Yamdele, Kadaliba, you around? Yes. Etor, Tio. I think at that time we are myself when Dr. Nana, you around? We used to be late, sir. But they are confident the gradation is taking place. We need a kind of restoration. And again, this was also a rare and unique opportunity for young people to know Professor Nyahogo. One of the hardest people and one of my best friends. I think we enjoyed meeting as if they are species, which you'll never meet anywhere. Okay, in a special way, let me thank the keynote speakers and all presenters who not only informed but also provoked discussions which made this event live. In Tanzania, there is a saying that wape maua yao. The translation of that is, let's give them the reality. Honorable Mr. Warner, Mr. Kimario, who was once my student, and became his boss. And unfortunately, when I'm about to retire, he's my boss. And there is very, very narrow and slim chance that there and the baby as his boss. I think that is very unfortunate anyway. But there is no such chance. But guest of honor, expectations of this symposium was well met. Achievements of wildlife conservation in the past 60 years were covered, but also challenges were noted, and we were able to chart out the way forward on how to go about to ensure sustainability of wildlife, African wildlife after 60 years. After the discussions, ideas, and the deliberations which came out from this symposium, now what remains is what do we have to do? I think sharing and probably lobbying with policymakers and managers for implementation. It is not our interest to see good ideas and recommendations brought by experts who have devoted their time to come here to see these ideas, good ideas, wrote in our laptops or gathered in plastic the shelves. Lastly, but not least, we have 3 more days before the climax of the 60-year anniversary of this college. Please take the hand up, don't go. Many with us to conclude this event. Let me evoke the minister's call, the opening session yesterday, that in these 3 days, think of visiting our nearby tourist destinations. I recommend that you visit Kumasi, Napa, Tarangire, Serengeti, and Morocco. Those who went to fulfill practical in Kumasi, 1980s, 1990s. Kumasi today is not the same command you. It's different. It is a real case study which will show you that ecological restoration and rewilding can work. It is one of the best national parks. The protected area was seriously degraded with 0 animals. Today we have a lot of animals there. We have rhinos. We have wild dogs, which are one of the critical endangered species. So think of going there's something to learn. With these few remarks, I brilliantly again welcome my ex-student who was once whom I happened to be his boss, but now he is my boss, Mr. Fidel Castro Mario, representative of the Director of Wildlife, to give his closing remarks. Karibu sana, Mheshimiwa mgeni rasmi.
Professor Irrigation, Director of the College of African Wildlife Management, Deputy Directors, Professor Alex Songorwa, the former Director of the College, and also former Director of Wildlife, keynote speakers, home staff, and students, other presenters, development partners, with us, the CAWM alumni, representatives from academic institutions, both local and internationally, conservation authorities, you have the number, representatives of NGOs, business community, we have individual experts as well. Allow me to say, protocol observed, ladies and gentlemen, it is a great honor standing before this congregation to give a closing remark of the International Scientific Symposium on 60 years of wildlife conservation in Africa, focusing on successes, challenges, and prospects. But before doing so, allow me to highlight some few things. It is worth noting that the 60-year journey of success stories and also presented challenges in biodiversity conservation comes along with major paradigm shifts. For instance, the Arusha Manifesto, if you look at the key message of the key targets, was mainly focusing on protection of wildlife and wildlife habitats. Mandate today presented about the need for skilled personnel, funding, conservation, issues of collaboration, and this move was also linked to protected areas management approaches during that time. But today, discussions and even conservation practices are more extending into linking people with nature, without forgetting the need for technologies and adequate funding for conservation, among other needs. And all these were evidently revealed from our discussions yesterday and today, and should serve as our take-home and points of action from this symposium. Again, I would like to emphasize on this, that it is important to remember that conservation is for people and a must for humanity if it has to exist. And it can only be done by people. Dear participants, as you are aware, Mweka College pioneered wildlife training and has continued to excel in building capacities for wildlife custodians conservationists in Africa and beyond. The college has maintained the trend by being a center of excellence in training wildlife and actually tourism managers, both in the SADC region and the East Africa region as well. This achievement is because of existing support and collaboration between the college and many stakeholders, including some of you here. I wish to reiterate the need for upholding this close engagement and support for the college to propel the realm of sustainable biodiversity conservation in the world. I look forward to actions on the outcome of this symposium and possibly another event, Professor Degesho and the Mweka College, another event like this in the near future to stimulate more discussions and even present achievements from today's symposium. Having said so, I would like to extend lots of appreciation for taking part in this event. I also urge you to visit and enjoy the beauty of Tanzania, its nearby hidden jewels of Arusha National Park, just close by, Tanzania National Park, the Ngorongoro Conservation Area, among others, and even the diverse cultures around the region of Kilimanjaro. Coming to this point, I would like to declare that the International Scientific Symposium on 60 years of wildlife conservation in Africa, successes, challenges, and prospects is officially closed. Thank you for that.
Thank you very much. I'm just going to give a few perspectives. And also because I was on the organizing committee, I think we deserve a clap. I think everybody deserves a clap. Okay, first of all, without forgetting, we have a tea session. As we come out of here, let's not ignore it. It's part of the conclusion of our workshop. So please, you can continue to network at the end of the workshop much better, or by a couple of tea. That's one. Second, we have some requests and some of the arrangements to do some bilaterals with a few of the institutions that are here. I have a list of Charles Ekaru from here at WOP, Biofan from Mozambique, AWF, Society for Conservation Biology, requesting to do some events, and we are set tomorrow for that. But at this juncture, I request all these institutions to meet the organization table briefly before going to the tea, so that we can arrange exactly how we do it tomorrow, including times and things, if that's okay. But we have another very strong request for a very brief presentation of a book from Uganda, which I would request perhaps to give him 5 minutes to present that one before we proceed to Japan. If that also is acceptable, I see that's the best way to organize it, because we are really at the brink of our program. Lastly, kindly note Symposium is just part of a series of events that have been going on 2 weeks before. We are concluding on 20, where we'll be finalizing the graduation. So we have the graduation here, we have lots of visitors, including our political heavyweights. So it's the landmark for the 60 years of Mweka's establishment. So those that are capable, we are cordially invited to finalize part of what we've been doing through this last workshop. So if you want to visit Arusha, you are here on that day, you also welcome to come and finalize with us. Having said that, and if that is democratically accepted, we'll ask ourselves to spare 5 minutes for Uganda talk, and after that we'll proceed to tea, except for those that we are meeting tomorrow, we'll allow them to come to us for 1 or 2 minutes of agreement. That's okay? Thank you very much. So Uganda's book, please. Karibu mzee.
Asante sana. Thank you, audience. Thank you for lending your ears. As I mentioned for one group yesterday, was the Gombe parallel session. I arrived here in Mweka, not knowing even where it was, and then I now describe the journey from that day to today. This book, I was inspired to write by one of the conservationists in the UK. We had a conference in Queen Elizabeth, Mweka, in Uganda, and they told me to write an article for the Ranger Federation Journal. So I started writing. By the time I stopped, I had 17 pages. So I said, this can't be an article. So I told him, I can't write an article, changing it to a book. And it took me 3 years to write these experiences. So I started from day one of Mweka, going to the field, Serengeti, Manyara, Ngorongoro, and elsewhere. Then after graduating to the postgraduate diploma, went to Uganda, went back to Uganda, and I was posted to a newly gazetted national park as the first staff, and I recruited the first staff, and so on and so on. So all those challenges are mentioned here. Then when after 2 years another national park was created, I was also sent there. So I was like a fire extinguisher in most cases, or a GDP of sorts. So it gives challenges because at that time, law enforcement was the only way, or we thought it was the only way. So you have your guns, roam the villages, beat everybody, but around 1995, the whole situation had to change. We had to go to the community. So we started community conservation as an organization with a lot of resistance within the organization and also outside. In fact, you remember community rangers were being called collaborators or poachers. So it gives us that arrangement, how we turn into community conservation, and up to now, we are seeing the fruits. We are seeing the fruits rules of community conservation. Even after retiring, we are protecting, we have formed Mweka Wildlife Conservancies of Uganda, which is the equivalent of wildlife management areas here, and also wildlife conservancies in Kenya. So we are seeing that the only way forward is to have the communities do conservation themselves, rather than us somebody coming, organizations like Kanapa or Uganda Wildlife Authority coming down, providing trees, building schools. Yet those ones can be done by the communities themselves with support from the agencies. Recently we were in Namibia, and there was a saying that there's nothing for us without us. So without the community, you are not going to succeed, whether you build schools, build bridges, build roads, build things, because you are not addressing the needs of the communities, which they have identified themselves. I have one last message which I gave to the rangers, especially on COVID. When COVID pandemic struck, so I said, dear brother and sister rangers, the temporary collapse of tourism in our areas has caused severe loss of revenue. Please persevere and do with the little that is available. Do not turn your guns on wildlife you are employed to protect. It is not anyone's making, and it will end. Actually, COVID ended. When it ends, the our wildlife and habitats be left intact. The fruits will be sweeter and will go down in the records of current conservationists, conserving for generations. So this is our message. We have survived COVID. I think that's why we are here, and we are enjoying the fruits of conservation. Thank you very much. I discovered I still have 2 copies. So I wish you the best. The Uganda team, I think, will be going back very fast, because I have a lot of good down there. But we have very good memories of Gorongoro, and we think we shall come back very soon, especially when you invite us. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Governor. Unfortunately, I cannot recall the name correctly. That is okay. Representing the country. So we come to the very end now of our program. I want to thank you very much. The last announcement that I did before. So the presenters to hand over to us their presentations, not the PowerPoints, the papers that support those presentations. Why? To finish up our report correctly. And again, we are at the very last stages now of inaugurating the first Mweka journal. We intend here, we would love to incorporate this presentation here in the first issue, which will be in the first quarter of the next calendar year. So kindly help us achieve that. Please, if it is dedicated to this particular meeting, it will be very inspiring indeed. So I hope that. We'll keep reminding you, but I think everybody will cooperate so that we finish off what we planned. Saying that, I now wish and request you to go to the tea place, continue finalizing the last break, and wish you all safe journeys home. You are always welcome to Mweka, and I hope this particular session, meeting, has cultivated again our cooperation with the college. Asante sana. So the groups, tomorrow's meeting, please.
Kuna zile update kwa zile tunahitaji kufanya haraka sana.